Welcome to the Recovery Centered Podcast, a space for honest conversations about healing, hope, and the journey through mental health and addiction recovery. Each episode, we sit down with people making a difference, from therapists and researchers to change makers and survivors now, to explore what recovery really looks like in the real world. This podcast is produced in collaboration with Beachway Therapy Center. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody. My name's Tim Roberto, and this is the Recovery Podcast, and I am your host. What an honor it is to be here. What an honor it is to be here with our guest for this episode is John. John and I met each other through a mutual friend who's got a lot of good energy like us.
Yeah, crazy energy.
Great, right?
Yeah.
And Marine. Johnny's a Marine. I'm not a combat Marine, but I have an idea of what he went through, just going from 0 to 100 over and over a few times in my life as well. And John, I'm honored to have you here, and thank you for your service. And I love what you're doing out in the community. I love what you're doing for vets. It's unbelievable. So yeah, man. It's like I said, it's an honor, and I hope somebody out here who's listening to this that because of Johnny's service to his community. Maybe between the two of us, we'll say something that's exactly what you needed to hear, and that's always the goal, right, John?
That's it.
Just that one person.
That's it.
Hope. Hope, right?
Drop a hope.
How do you look at hope? You think is that like a gained thing or
A gained thing? Good question.
like we lose
Thanks
a lot?
for having me.
Yeah.
Jumping right into it.
Yeah, we did.
I think it's the most important thing there is, though, because when I had no hope, I was just ready to die.
Mm.
Dying was I wasn't suicidal. I'm not that. That's just not my makeup.
Yeah.
And I know some people it is.
Yeah.
My best friends it was, but I didn't. I had no intention on coming back.
When you were over in theater?
Well, over in theater, but I was talking more like when I was in these streets.
Gotcha.
When I was shooting heroin and doing what we do. I had no hope.
Yeah.
No, I definitely had hope overseas. Overseas, you got hope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In fact, really, hope isn't even a thing over there because it's life or death, and you've kind of come to terms with death. So you just do whatever you can to live.
Yeah.
To keep,
complete the mission.
yeah, complete the mission. Bring everyone home, as many people as possible.
Yeah. Hey, John, I'm curious. You brought that up, like the streets, and the streets will eat up everybody and anything over time.
Yep.
Is there like a correlation, you think, between being a combat vet and the streets? Is there any like crossover or any similarities? Is it survival, right? The street, they're both survival mode.
That's it. Yeah.
Survival.
It's the best thing for that combat mindset I found since combat. I didn't know how to go home to my daughter when things started going real south. I got out of the Marine Corps. My daughter was less than a year old.
Yeah.
I think she's only like 4 or 5 months, you
Yeah.
know? And that peaceful home environment was as unpeaceful, or as chaotic in my mind because it was so quiet that like all the things going on in my mind were able to take over. And the only thing that quieted that was that life or death, that adrenaline rush, that the street, which was the street. So I left my house. I think the last time I lived at home with my wife and daughter was like September or October. I got out in January. So, 10 months into that quiet, beautiful, peaceful civilian life, I went to treatment and never came home. Yeah, I went right to being on the streets.
So substance abuse, when I hear treatment, being a counselor, addictions, kind of hear substance or mental health or both.
Yeah. Well, at that point, it was just substance.
Substance.
Yeah, I was just doing a lot of pills, a lot of crack.
Yeah.
And because, again, and to be honest with you, and I didn't know this at the time, I wasn't, like, smoking a rock and thinking, like, this is like the adrenaline rush of combat. But that's what it was. It's the only time I really felt alive.
Stimulating.
Yeah, stimulating my mind, feeling that rush again.
That 0 to 100.
Like you were saying, yeah, when you said that, I don't know if that was off camera. We were talking about
Was
that.
it?
Yeah. 0 to, or maybe it was. Anyway, We've been talking for
But
a
that's
while.
where the damage
That's
is.
it.
That's where the I call them like little clicks. Remember the Rubik's cubes? Click,
Yep.
click. I call that 0 to 100 stuff like clicks. Over time.
Right.
If you do it long enough, kind of like vets, combat vets, drug addicts,
Yeah.
first responders. I'm not trying to clump everybody in the same club, but drugs take you from 0 to 100
Yeah.
over, and things change.
I think we are in the same club, though. Really, we can be lumped into that. It's that instant.
That rush, right?
That rush is what you're chasing, and then also, there was chaos, and that, you've heard it a million times. Comfortable in chaos. I mean, it's the most true little statement there is.
Hashtag real shit on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtag real
Well, you know how to operate in it.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't have to, that quiets what's going on in my mind. That the racing thoughts. And for me, it was hypervigilance. These type of things are quieted down, and I can just be, in those chaotic moments.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine though. It's like it's something that never leaves you. You've just learned how to manage it more. Is that true, or is that fair statement?
I don't know if it's in me or not in me. It's a good question, but I mean, I've learned how to quiet the mind. Right? I've learned how to. I mean, I don't meditate where like I'm sitting, legs crossed, fucking floating. But but like in the gym or when I have a good music or even a good podcast, or I listen to some spiritual stuff now. Like I think that's my meditation, and I'm able to definitely take myself to a different place.
Yeah, I feel you. But like, I guess like are you the kind of guy that needs to sit, looking at the entrance, and when you're in a restaurant? You need the door behind your back. Is that some of that still with you all the time?
Yeah, that type of shit for sure. And you know what I've come to say is like that's okay.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
100%. Yeah.
I think we've talked about. I'm still crazy.
Yeah.
Right? What I've also learned. I learned this from a guy named Cole Shiflett when I got sober. Is like. Because he's a fucking lunatic, and we always tell him that. Like in fact, we have a group chat. I wished him Happy Father's Day. I said, thanks for showing me that you can be a complete maniac and still be a great dad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's what it comes down to: is how do we channel that crazy?
Right. How do we manage it?
Yeah.
So give us a little scoop, man. Like, because you're one of the few, and of course they did a great job with marketing. It made me want to continue that. The few, the proud, the Marines, but I didn't mean that. But that was the thought, so I figure I share my thought with you. What I did mean, though, you're one of the few that found a way out, I think. You know what I mean? And so what are you doing, like, to be that voice for the others contemplating? I don't know, somebody might have some gunmetal in their mouth today, or somebody's chasing the rock again, or they're on the street, or they're looking for that rush. Like, in this gift that you were given that's denied so many people.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man, to share that? Because if you're here with me, and this is no disrespect to anybody, we attract what we know. And John and I, I feel we hit it off right away. We had a lot of commonalities between us. And so for him to be here on the couch, I think is, so like, what are you doing, man?
I mean, my whole goal is, so I got to be on the news last week, right?
Nice.
Got to do a live broadcast. It was pretty cool on Newsmax. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, with Ed Henry. It was
Ed Henry, been watching it for years.
Dude, it was fucking crazy. And and I had my little girl and my wife in the back. Who again, I lost for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
Didn't see them, or we started co-parenting again, but we got back together.
Oh, nice. We're
all back together. But anyway, so having them in the background, and then, but honestly, as I said to him, I'll say it to you, like my motivation is my guys that I've lost. I mean, it is, and it sounds, it sounds a little cliche maybe, but Zach Picking, Brandon Lay. I say their name, and every time I get to be on a set like this or anywhere, and I got to say it to Ed Henry, it's like Zach Picking, Brandon Lay, two guys that put guns in their mouth, pulled the fucking trigger. And I used to have obviously an idea that suicide was like a coward's way out, or like how could you do that? And I'm like, now I know exactly why they did it, right? Like we're taught, for instance, right? Close with and destroy the enemy. The enemy's in our head. Inevitably, some of us, what do we do?
Yep.
Drugs and alcohol saved my life, I think, too. All the things we're talking about with it, and why I left my house, it kept me alive. You know,
In what way, John? What do you...
Well, there's no way I could have dealt with the things that were going on in my mind.
So for you, it like worked in a way.
It did until it didn't. The problem is it stopped working, right? You know,
100%.
and there wasn't enough. As they say, one is too many, 1,000's never enough. The 1,000 is never enough is the truest part of that statement.
Oh my God, yeah, that's why addicts and alkies die. They
Yeah.
can't stop.
Well, I kept dying from fentanyl too. 2017, 2018, I couldn't stay alive, and
Amazing.
that was okay as long as it was still working. But and that's my, you know, to get it. I'm a step guy. I do 12 steps.
Yeah.
But my real first step experience is I had a realization that like drugs and alcohol weren't going to work anymore. And it was a fucking crazy experience because I had been homeless for years. You know, I had been worse off. And I remember sitting there in Austin, Texas, and I had that moment. And,
clear as day kind of thing, right?
Clear as day. And it took me a little bit to get back into the nonprofit with that guy that I was talking about, Cole, who owned this little nonprofit. It's not even close to what your question was. But what am I doing now? You know, back to that is like saying their names.
I love that.
I learned that those were, because, dude, these were two tough guys. You know what I mean? So this whole idea that it's a coward's way out. Like, I know them. I don't know if intimately is the right word. I know them inside and out. Right? We
intimately.
After boot camp, we went to engineer school together. We deployed our first deployment together. One of us, Brandon and I deployed our second deployment. We were in the same gun truck together. Like I used to have to pull him back because I was a higher rank at that point. I used to have to pull him back from like leaving the truck to go like, you know, go do something, you know, whether it was sweep for something, but it was a dangerous environment. You know what I mean? Like I know I'm pretty fucking brave, and I was having to hold him back. So like when he took his life, it was a real eye opener. And picking was the same way. This guy didn't have a fear factor in his brain. It was like go. And when they took their life, it made me like really, first of all, be grateful. For drugs and alcohol, to be honest with you, again, like I said, for my journey, that it didn't end in a gunshot.
For sure.
But to talk about it, man, because like here's the thing, like Zach went back in the alley and just you know didn't tell anybody nothing, and just boom, you know he wasn't willing to share that with anybody, and Brandon had gone into like he had a lot of mental health things going on as well. And had tried to get help from the VA. And, you know, again, I work intricately with the VA, so I'm not here to bash the VA, but there's a lot of holes in the system, which is, again, why we do what we do.
100%.
But he, you know, and he ended up, you know, this guy went so far as to call, and I don't mean to get graphic, but he went to call the emergency, 911, and say that there was a gunshot in his apartment prior to, so that his sister or one of his family members didn't find him first, so that the cops would come. You know, and then he did it. You know, so that was like he was very.
Yeah, when I hear that, man, what an awful space to be in. You know,
Can
like
you
the
imagine?
mind is actually thinking about that. Like talk about corrupted and distorted, and you know, telling you that this is the only way, and you know, like that's tough, man.
It's
tough thing.
And I think so. That brings us to like why we do what we do. Like that's why I get on here and I'm very open about. Like I had nothing, man. When it was all said and done, I had a protective order. I couldn't talk. I had signed away custody of my daughter because again, I knew I wasn't coming back. My wife, who I had been wanting to get back for years, was gone. My parents, who were the biggest enablers and loved me more than anything, weren't answering the phones. You know, I had robbed, cheated, and stole from everybody that I ever loved or knew. And I had nothing, man. You know, and I couldn't stay out of the hospital. Every time I go in the house, I pull it. You know, as soon as they would untie me, I'm out the door.
The obsession was insane, right?
It was insane, and but here we are, right?
I know.
I think that's the message. Is like, but we got to know. You know, you can't go out if we don't know that something's going on. You know, or you don't think if you don't think that asking for help will help you, we can't really do anything. You're gonna go into that alley like Picking did, and you're gonna pull the trigger. I think that's the whole mission. It starts, and it's so simple. It's like we need to know.
Just get that one guy.
One guy.
Like the guys that you say their names out loud. Like if they could just be here, you know, it would obviously it'd be different. But
I think it's really respectful of you and really commendable of you, like to just to say their names out loud in honor and respect, because you know the things that you accomplish with these guys and the psychological mind fucks that you went through and just all this stuff, man. Yeah, I think that's amazing.
And then there's childhood, you know, like Brandon had childhood stuff too, and that's just like it's just it's just waiting to blow.
Yeah, it's a time bomb.
You know.
Yep. Yep.
But I think again, like if we know about it, like I mean, look at what you do, right? Like if you didn't know me from Adam, but someone called and said there's this guy down, you know, whatever, would you go? You're gonna be there, right? I'm gonna be there, and we're not saints, right? Like we're not angels. Like we're not the only two.
Still live in the flesh.
There's a lot of us that'll do that, but we gotta know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. All the guys, you know, the things I do, I have 99% I've never met.
Yeah.
I have no idea who they are, and when I'm helping somebody, I say all I need is your first name.
Yeah.
And for all I know, Johnny, man, half of those could be fictitious.
Right.
But that's the whole point of it. I'm here just like you, you know, or people like us who've been given this tremendous gift and actually honored the gift.
Right.
Because we know in our hearts, not here, this thing here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
We know it's a privilege denied so many.
It really is. But we got to know.
So I love the way you talked about childhood, too, because you know, as a counselor, I come up with that a lot. Like, you know, the macho guys, and as soon as they start putting up the fight, I'm like, okay, so the inner child in there, the little boy is being protected.
Right.
Blah, blah. And that's just a matter of time till you can break that down.
Yep.
You do it respect. It's got to be respectful. But, man, I couldn't agree with you more. So many of us are responding as adults based on what was given us in those formative years, you know, like, so you have all this stuff comes with you from childhood. You're already clicked a couple of times.
Sure.
The only difference is that we have an adult body, you know, but.
Well, especially when you're dealing with military guys too, right? Especially Marines. You know, you got to have a little screw loose to join the Marine Corps. Otherwise, you join the Air Force. And I love the Air Force.
Yeah, me too.
And I say this every time. They saved my life on numerous occasions. 500-pound JDAM got me out of many a bad situation in 2008. So I love the Air Force, and they got great chow halls. You know,
they train us differently,
right? But it's just a different mindset. And I think, or anyone that goes into like, even maybe law enforcement, I don't know a lot about it, but like Army infantry and things like that. Like you join that, like I don't want to say it, but probably running from something as a kid, right? Like some childhood stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I think it helps fill up some of the childhood voids.
Yeah.
You know, the praise, accomplishment, camaraderie. Like I'm one of 5 boys.
Yeah.
But I always felt alone.
Yeah.
In the Marine Corps, I didn't feel alone. You know, but obviously as time went on, my mental health continued to progress and get worse, and I was just all over.
Well, that's the thing too, right? Like I joined the Marine Corps at 25 years old. You know,
you were old, man.
I was old. I'd already been strung out on drugs and things like that. You know,
Me too.
Yeah. And,
this will fix me.
Yeah. 25. Like you're like ancient. Boot camp. You know what I mean? Like, dude, it was like,
were the DIs on you or what?
Oh yeah, like whispering in my ear, like, and I don't know how old they are, right? And he's like, "Hey Schrey, you think you're better than me because you're older than me? You think?" And I would be like, "Time out, brother. Time out. I do not. You know what I mean? Like that is not crossing my mind. Like, can we stop?
I want to be
that?
a Marine, man.
Yeah,
Take your psychological shit.
Yeah. Oh my God, bro. Just in my Schrey. I'll never forget the name, Sergeant Stamos. But
really,
or Stamos. But yeah. I actually stalked him on Facebook not too long ago, see if he was still around. I would love to meet him. Yeah.
Did you were you able to get him?
I saw him. I didn't reach out. I might still do it one day. I mean, probably like, what a weirdo. You know? But, you know, these guys stick with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was devastating for me.
It must have been.
Well, leaving, you know, and I left a lot of guys behind. And so I think for me, it's another reason why I do some of the things I do outside of addiction counseling, you know, like.
No, but you're doing it, man.
It helps me heal. Yeah.
I mean, from someone who did 8 years in the Marine Corps, like here we are lockstep, you know what I mean? Who gives a shit what happened before?
But it's irrelevant. We were willing to sign the line and put our life, you know.
Got a real good guy. I guess I could say close friend. We've only met like 3 or 4 times. We were in treatment together.
Yeah.
And then we ran the streets together.
Yeah.
He's in Boston. His name's Francis Kinney. And you know, I know he has some similar story to you. Like, he was with his unit, and before his unit deployed, he got in trouble, you know, and I know, probably shouldn't even say his last name, but like, you know, dude, he's the man. Like, and I'm like, I would have taken, if I had to choose a platoon, like you'd be in the platoon. And I think you'd be in the platoon. That's what I'm saying, but I would pick you too. You know what I mean? And I tell him that to like, look, man, whatever happened. Like, there's a lot of Marines that were in the Marine Corps, were in combat and everything. They're not showing up like Marines today. No. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like,
you think a lot of those guys are bitter? Think they're bitter? Is that what you mean? Kind of like, or
no? I just mean like what I'm saying is like whatever you did, however you fucked up before,
gotcha.
And now here we are. And I deal with this with the guys at the treatment center, you know, and it's hard when it's your job because you can't tell them to shut the fuck up or, you know, stop being a bitch or, you know what I mean? Yeah. I do sometimes if I get a good relationship with them, but like a lot of these guys feel so entitled and they're so you know, and they just want to be enabled and it's like, and they're playing the victim. And I'm like, bro, like that's not being a Marine. That's not being a soldier. Like you want people to look up to you, and here you are acting like we owe you something. Yeah, shit happens. So when I say that, like now you're acting like you're being a Marine, a leader right now.
Amen.
This guy Franny, like yo, he's had my back like we were in a trench in Afghanistan. Because I swear to God, Boynton and Tamarin over here, these are trenches.
Oh yeah,
your life is on the line just like it was, and some people may be like, how can you compare it to war? Well, I've been to both, so shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like,
thank you.
Yeah, like you can't comment. I can comment on this.
100%.
When I'm sitting in a trap house with a bunch of people, granted, we're not doing the right thing, and we earned our way into that trap house. I don't deny that. Yeah. But that bunker mentality in there.
Oh yeah.
And the way. Or let's say in detox or an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, like that bunker mentality, it's life or death out there, just like it is, you know, in the streets or in combat.
I like the way you say that, man.
It is, man.
Well, like, drugs killed drug addicts and alcohol kills alcohol. Yeah. Different type of style.
And that's not an opinion. That's a fact. I will stand on that. That is a fact. Yeah. You know, different situation, different circumstances.
Everybody's got something to say, John, from my experience, man, about shit that they've never experienced.
Right.
You know, and then but you know, how can you understand something you've never experienced?
Right. Well, that's a stigma. You stomping out the stigma. That's why it is, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Like the stigma, like you bring drugs into it, but here's and I got guys, man, like good men that are drinking, but they don't think they're shooting heroin, and they have a job, and you know, but they don't think that they're doing that. They think they're okay.
Alcoholism.
Because that stigma, that alcohol doesn't have the stigma that a drug addict has.
It's the only thing I know that tells me I don't have a problem.
It's crazy.
It's everybody else.
Sure. Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a 12-stepper. I'm an AA guy, you know, because I could always put the drugs down because that consequent hammer for me, drugs was a little heavier. Mm-hmm. So I could put them down, but I could never put the booze down. But every time I put the booze down, I wanted to smoke.
Right.
So
you want to feel a little better.
Huh?
You want to feel a little more.
Yeah, well, I'm a jacked up kind of guy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's another thing about Marines. You know, I'm not a downer. I don't like sitting with drool down to my ankle on a. I don't know. I'm getting a little sidetracked, but but if you think about it, alcohol's a drug, man. It's a mind altering substance, and it does the same thing opiates do if it works in your body makeup, your body's biochemistry, your body genetic coding. Alcohol, you can't stop. But somebody with an opiate addiction, their body doesn't really dig alcohol. It doesn't give them that phenomenon of craving, you know? But the opiates do. Mm-hmm. Regardless, it's whatever your body latches on.
I mean, personally, I think, too, like an alcoholic, they just haven't experienced opiates.
Well, physically, they would get hooked.
Right. Yeah, like I used to drink booze until I found heroin. You know what I mean? I used to sniff coke or do Adderall until I smoked crack or shot meth. You know what I mean? And then I realized this is better than that.
It was all leading you to what you ended up with, right? Fentanyl,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Opiates.
Fentanyl, opiates. But I think, there's not that stigma around like drinking a case of beer if you go to work, but like my thing I'm more and more starting to focus on, because look, the fentanyl is the fentanyl, right? Like, but like a lot of the guys of my generation are now they're retiring, and that sense of purpose is about to go bye-bye.
Oh yeah.
Like, and you've been in since you're 18 years old. Now you're getting out at 38, let's say.
Yeah.
And you just were in charge of a whole battalion. And now you get out and you got nothing. You've been drinking, right? It's okay because you've been showing up for PT, showing up for work. You get home, you don't have that sense of purpose. You've been drinking. Now you may not turn into a heroin addict, right? But you may but I know guys that want to blow their brains out, that have a job, that are providing for their kids, but they're drinking a case of Busch Light. But they don't think they're as bad as that guy who's shooting heroin in the streets. Well, one just is a quicker downfall, or smoking crack, right? Very quick downfall. But they're suffering just as bad inside.
They don't like how they feel, just like the opiate addict or the crackhead.
Right.
And, whether it's a case of beer or a shot of whiskey, it all metabolizes the same.
Right.
But there's something driving that. You're checked out.
Yeah.
I've never met an alcoholic that really likes themselves. I've never met an alcoholic. I hear this all the time, John. Well, I'm a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
I've worked. And when in my groups, or even if I'm doing somebody individually, it's like, well, how are you there emotionally for them?
Sure.
And 99% of the time, they're like, oh, man, I never had that question. Well, I wasn't. How can you be emotionally available to somebody if you don't like how you feel so badly that you're drinking a case of beer every day?
Right.
Because at the end of that last can, you're still as high as the guy smoking rock. It's just in a different way.
Right.
So,
and the thing, too, is like, if I didn't hit the bottoms that I hit or whatever, if I didn't get sober, just put all that other shit, right? Like, it wasn't the jails, the arrests, the deaths, right? If I hadn't got sober, I would never be able to feel emotions. I would never be able to do the shit that I'm doing, any of the stuff I'm doing today, right? Like, my wife and I, again, we're divorced for 6.5 years. We've been back together just over 3. We're not
That's
married.
amazing,
Yeah,
man.
it's
Congratulations.
crazy. But our relationship is so much better than it was 15 years ago when we first got married.
So she never had struggles with anything, or
she quit drinking just like 3.5 years ago. So I got sober, got a year sober, was invited back into my daughter's life.
Love it.
Easy way to put it, right? She up in New York, started co-parenting. Again, and that's a whole nother story, right? Like the way I did that, and that was by just not trying to get my wife back, not trying to get my daughter back.
That's
doing my fucking steps.
Love it.
Doing my work. When I had the opportunity to move, talking to my sponsor and my therapist, understanding what I was getting myself into. And I would go up in the middle of winter. I moved up to New York where they were. I saw my kid once a week.
Love that. Man.
I had nobody and nothing but AA. That's it. And I rented a room.
That's all you needed.
That's all I needed. And it just boom, brother. I swear. And it sounds like, again, you could say it's it's a fact. I've lived it. You know what I mean? That is all you fucking need. I had a bag of clothes. I rented a room from Airbnb, a room.
Love that.
And I got a job at the treatment center up there. I lied about my sobriety date because, they wanted 2 years. I only had like 10 months.
You got to do what you got to do.
Right. I talked to my sponsor. He said, yeah, you're doing the right thing. They're not even supposed to ask you that, which is true.
True.
But anyway, so I got my kid back and I started and my wife saw the way I was living. It was like through osmosis. She saw it like from how bad I was. And she was just a drinker. She's not an alcoholic. She was drinking for the depression and the anxiety of what I had put her through the last 10
She never really
years.
got pickled.
No, she didn't. She didn't. She just... And so she stopped drinking and she got into Orange Theory,
Yeah, I love that.
And so after she stopped drinking, her and I connected on a different level and we got back together.
God, how cool is that?
Dude,
I love stories like that because that's recovery, man. That's the whole...
It's almost hard to even... Sometimes I don't want to give false hope to people.
No,
and I'm very clear too, and I've said this to my wife. She knows. I used to be like, I don't if my wife never wanted to get back with me, we'd have just co-parented. and we'd have been good friends. Like, I don't need my wife anymore. You know what I mean? I don't need her to be sober.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge cherry on top,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? But like, you can't be doing it to get something back because it may
It'll
not
never
come
work.
back.
It will never work.
Right.
It's kind of like that saying, like whatever, like if it begins with money and ends with money, it's short lived.
Yeah, it's a good. I never heard that, but yeah.
Like you stayed in your lane.
Yeah.
And you knew what to fight for, and you knew what
it.
not to fight for, and that's the gifts of recovery. Like recovery takes all that nonsense out of the picture, and because the number one culprit for all this crap that you guys like me and you hear all the time is effing alcohol,
Right.
effing drugs, people.
Right.
Like, get rid of them,
Right.
and it's amazing how much of the smoke starts going away.
This is what I tell these guys, men and women, right? Most normally guys, right? Because I don't like giving advice to a female. Like, I don't understand. But with the guys I work with, it's like, listen, I don't know if you're going to get your wife. I don't know. I can 100% guarantee you how you won't, though.
100%.
Right? Like, let's start there.
Doing one thing and giving up everything.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Giving up one thing for everything.
Yeah.
Versus one thing for everything. Does that make sense? Yeah. You know what
I know the saying.
You know what I'm looking for,
No,
right?
but it's true. But it's like you want your kid back, but you keep drinking. What ruined your life? The drinking or the drug and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, but at the same time, you're like, I got to get up. It's like, well, all right, you want that back.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that won't get him back? Drugs and alcohol. So let's figure out how to not do that.
Guaranteed. Giving up one thing for everything
Yes.
instead of giving everything up for one thing.
Correct.
God, how cool is that? And we got it's a fatal progressive illness too. And that's another thing that a lot of people, they keep trying to intellectualize it and keep trying to figure it out. Like, there's nothing to figure out except you don't like how you feel and you check out.
Right.
It's a very serious health condition. Like, dude, I'm 63 in August, and obviously you're not as old.
You're looking good, brother.
Thanks, bro. You're not as old as me, but you've been around long enough.
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen a lot of guys lose the battle.
Yeah. Way more lose it than win it.
Correct. And we still struggle with it. We still fight it. I'm not doing it this way. And we keep trying to figure out the problem with the same thinking that created the problem.
I got a young
It's
kid.
unbelievable.
He's 30 now. I met him when he was 21. We met in treatment.
Wow.
I won't say his name.
Yeah.
And he got a little boy.
Yeah.
Hasn't seen him in a couple years, right?
Yeah.
Put a year together. Was going to meet, doing the deal, sober living, met a girl. It's not her fault. She stayed sober. And he's always been like that guy who like, oh, they're trying to tell me what to do in the meetings. It's like, bro, like, are they trying to tell you what to do? Or are they giving you their experience and it doesn't match up with yours and they seem to be getting it and you don't? No one's telling you what to do. Trust me, I know. In fact, I hooked him up with a kid, a sponsor, right?
Yeah.
A guy, or who I was hoping would be his sponsor.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're trying to tell me I should. I'm like, brother, look at your life, and I get it. I was there once, but like, you got a year, the best year of your life, like doing this work, and this isn't he's not unique, right?
Yeah.
And then they stop doing the work,
Yep.
and then it doesn't work,
Yep.
and then you're like, oh, but it's them, right? It's them, not you.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy that our mind, the delusion that our mind tells us. And you know what? I went and picked him up this weekend. His mom called me again, and he's all.
Yeah.
And I get there, I get to the door, this little apartment that they can afford, and he opens the door, pinned, right? Eyes pinned. Oh, I'm good. I'm like, you're not good, brother.
Yeah.
You're not. But I'm not going to argue with you because I get it.
I
You
get
can't
it.
win that
But if I'm
argument.
knocking on your door, bro, like,
Yeah.
it's out of nowhere. You're not good.
No. Another guy, man, and this is another one, Marine. He's lost everything, and it's crazy, right? Because we have, like, I finally in my life have, I have the ability to help, like, to do things for you, right? Like, not saying we're gonna scholarship you or, but I have, like, right? Because we're in this, we're out, like, you and I really do it. We're out in the community, right? Like, you have a great foundation that just does so much, like. But we know detoxes. We know I know the inner workings of the V. I know everything.
Yep.
Like, I'm like if you know me and you're suffering, like in the military, like like finally I'm of service, right? Like finally I can do good for you.
Because you've been doing the work.
And I'm like, come down here. I got you. I'll get you a hotel room. I said, I'll get you the flight. I'll get you a hotel. And in the morning, we'll go to detox.
Love it.
No, I'm okay. I'm going to make it.
I'm like, oh, my God. That drives me crazy.
Dude.
Yep.
And his best friend is my best friend, Picky, that killed himself. But he's still in that, like, he's drinking over his death, which I get it.
Yep.
I'm up here saying their fucking name. Like, who, you know what I mean? Like, bro.
And the guys that I hung out with in the Marine Corps, just in life, that were really good friends of mine, even today, like, they wouldn't want to see me doing that. No. You know, what happened, you know, like, I used to, when I was sick, or when like, it sounds like this guy's really sick, you know, like, remember when people would tell you, it's going exactly the way it's supposed to be, you know, I used to see, like, this 2 foot long finger, you want to snap them,
right?
You guys and all your bullshit, right? But gosh, Johnny, when you're healthy, it's amazing what more you can see. It is going exactly the way it's supposed to be, because otherwise it'd be different.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So this stuff that addiction does, how it clogs the mind and distorts the mind, but it's all fear.
Right.
It's all fear-based.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I keep making these fear-based decisions that just keep creating more fear.
Yeah.
And before I know it, I got guys knocking on my door.
I think, too, because it's fear, because, like, that's been the only solution for us for a long time, the drugs and the alcohol. For our mind. Yeah. Our mind is telling us, like, I don't want to lose that.
But it's like the ultimate pimp.
Right.
You know, all these feelings that human beings go through, there's nothing synthetic about them at all.
Right.
Alcohol is synthetic. Opiates are synthetic. Crack is synthetic. Fentanyl is synthetic. I mean, we have all this beauty and this creative intelligence to it. How the hell can that stuff work? It creates the illusion that it was.
That's the thing. It's an
and I'm not saying, you know, sometimes in the beginning it was kind of like shits and giggles, you know, rope swinging and all that kind of bullshit.
Oh, no, it was great. It was fun for a while, till it wasn't.
Till it wasn't, because the condition was still
and just
there.
Like it was a solution until it wasn't. Right? It used to be fun. Then I was using it to cope.
Correct.
And then I was using it and then it stopped working.
Correct.
And it always does. And when it stops working, nothing has been, right? We haven't worked on anything. So all the other things that it was masking come flying back.
Yep. Turns us right upside down.
Yeah.
Holy cow, man.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way? Like an email or something? Or
I would give my phone number.
If you're cool with it, I'm cool. Yeah.
My phone number is area code 512. I said I wasn't going to look at the camera, but 512-620-4038. Yeah, call me. I don't. Everyone's again, like, even the news guy. Call me.
Yeah.
Call Tim.
Yeah.
Email, whatever. And John Schrey, Schrey. Like, I know how to. It's not that we're old fucks, and I know how to stalk people on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, look it up on Facebook. But call. Yeah. You know, I mean, if you're out there, especially a veteran, and you're drinking like that, there's ways around, and you're adverse to the VA. Like, there's ways around having to go through that hole. And I've been to treatment 12 times through the VA. I've been in the psych ward over 15 times. Like,
he knows his way around.
I know my way around it.
Yeah.
And I know the good and the bad people in the VA, you know, and I don't want to say the bad people, but the good people, I'll just say.
Yeah.
You know, like, we have solutions to these problems.
Yeah,
or at least we know where we can bring the horse. We know where the water is.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
What happens after that? I don't know.
100%. So what are the future plans? You got any future plans? Like anything cooking, or, you know, just kind of doing your thing?
Yeah. I mean, I'm speaking up at the graduation at Lejeune.
Are you?
I'm going up to Lejeune next week, actually. Yeah.
Really?
One of my Marines is now like in his 18th year.
Really?
And he runs the schoolhouse up there, and so I'm going to the staff NCO some graduation. He asked me to be like the guest of honor / speaker at their mess night. So.
Wow, how cool is that? You must be stoked.
Unbelievable, man.
So is it a message of not only duty and service, but also recovery, kind of like a mixed, or just a general like?
I bring my recovery everywhere I go.
Yeah.
This would be, you know, a lot about, it's a breacher school, so you know, about like the importance of like attention to detail.
Yeah.
His whole thing, why he's bringing me, is because he thinks the Marine Corps is losing some of their, like some of their past history, like the mess night and like doing these things, and they haven't been to war in a while, so like they're losing their edge. He's noticing. So
Gotcha.
I definitely bring a fucking edge, bro. Especially when I'm talking to that. Like I got to speak at the Marine Corps Ball last year, so this is
great.
Yeah, this is what I'd love to do.
Yeah,
I would love to just. Spread the
well,
word,
if you didn't, you wouldn't be getting invited to that because an 18-year guy's a career dude. He ain't just bringing some schlep up there. Like, yeah, wow, how cool is that?
Yeah, so that's
cool.
so
it kind of goes back to how I introduced John. You know, I feel honored to have him here. Just having a conversation with us in here. And so, all right, so you got Marine Corps, the family's back in order for the most part.
Better than ever.
Better than that.
I moved down to Florida. I think when we met, I may have still been in New York. August, I moved back to Florida. Got a house in Boca now.
Yep.
I'm
Crazy.
working for Haven for Heroes and just grinding, man. And that's all. And again, like, I got a great treatment center. You got a great treatment center. I know, there's not I know which treatment centers are great, and which guys are really trying to help people, and that's what we're doing, man. I want to band together. I want to start in the future, I want to start. I just want to create more of a platform or whatever for guys like us and that's why I'm always like, I'm fucking crazy. I am crazy, man. Like
you're a good crazy, man.
That's what I'm saying, but I learned how to like put it into the right direction.
Correct.
And that's what I want. Like you don't have to be some lame fuck. Like sorry.
no, it's good. No,
we have fun, man. We go out to lunch and have a good time. And just it's not your life ain't over. It's just starting if you give us a call.
Oh my God, that's no truer word spoken than that, man.
And you don't got to be homeless and a heroin addict. If you're drinking like a fifth a night or a case of beer, like that ain't right.
I had a guy, and normally I wouldn't say this because there's really no need to say it. So, but it's I don't know. It's just in the moment. And everything we do is now. So I'm not going to deny what my thoughts. Because I denied them a long time, and I drank and smoked rock over it. So just coming over here this morning, there's a guy lying down on the street. I asked for barbecue Pringles and a Sprite.
It's random.
Yeah, well, he wanted some food. So I'm thinking, all right, what's around here? Because I just kind of come into the studio and split.
Yeah.
And I know there's the CVS over there. So he just said, barbecue Pringles and a Sprite. So I said, you're out of luck because I went in there's no Sprite. So I got him a Fanta Orange, and they had 2 Pringles for $4 or something. So for $7.20.
Yeah.
I gave the guy some, just like, hopefully I think that made him feel like a human, like just lying on the street. He had that look. The look.
That could be the hope he needs. That's hope, right? Would you say? Like that's hope that someone actually fucking treats me like a human, and maybe there is a future. I don't know.
But it's action, like this guy. I obviously don't know what happened to him, but I've heard some things that happened to you now that altered the course of your life.
I'll tell you this.
You follow me?
100.
So all this stuff you're doing, people like me, I don't know. I could have altered that guy. I don't know because he had other stuff that altered his life. Right. So why can't some of the good things or a little bit of love or just humanity alter somebody's life? I don't know. God, that would be phenomenal if we altered somebody's life in just a short period.
Yeah, I think it's instrumental,
right?
Now whether they hear it or are able to see what just happened for them.
Yeah,
Wounded Veterans of South Florida is an organization I'm involved with, and only because back in 2017 Christmas they put me up. I didn't know. Someone gave me a number. I said, all right, free stuff.
Yeah.
And they put me up in a hotel for Christmas time, 2017. They didn't ask me if I was high. They didn't ask me for a drug test, and sometimes I think maybe they should have. But, dude, it gave me hope. Like, I was treated like a human. I had a place to stay for Christmas.
Now, that's unconditional love.
Unconditional.
And love and
I
respect.
support them, like, I went to their 5K and they asked me to speak on the microphone, and I was like, I was not expecting it, but I just
on the fly.
But it's easy. You tell that story.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Yeah. Dude, man, you know the deal, man. Recovery, just the gifts are just they never stop.
No.
And one of them was
I've learned so many things from people like you, and that kind of made it my own, because I kept going to Home Depot for ice cream. You know what I mean? Wonder why I didn't walk out with a fucking swirly cone, And then, of course, when I was in my addiction, I get pissed off and I drink.
Right.
A liar always has to remember what they say. The truth, you never have to. So if somebody gives you a mic on the fly and then now, the truth is the truth. It never changes.
Yeah.
You don't get all overwhelmed or, get all whacked out like, oh, shit, what did I say last night?
Lying is tiresome, isn't it?
Oh, dude, it'll break down anybody.
Yeah.
It'll break down anybody.
I think that's a lot of guys in recovery still, that when you see them struggle, there's something they're not talking about. That's why they, that's why
Still protecting something.
they got to put it. That shit just eats at you.
You got to put on everything on the table. And the people that aren't meant to be in your life won't be.
Right.
And the people that see you who you are now, because they're in the now too, are the people that make the decision now that want to be around you.
I don't know if we're running out of time, but I always talk about the 4th step, right? And the sex inventory and all this stuff that people are scared of.
Yep.
None of that really bothered me, but what I talk about now is 3 things. Like the 3 resentments that I had. That I was like, I think I had 10 months. The only time I ever put any time more than 90 days in a treatment center was 10 months, and I went back out.
Yeah.
And the things I wasn't willing to talk about is that I resented my daughter for being alive because a piece of me knew that I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing, that I should be a dad. I resented my brother for dying first.
Wow.
He died of an overdose 2017, and it was like, because then I in the back of my mind, I'm like, my dad can't lose another son, right? It was my dad, half brother.
Yeah.
And then I resented my father even for still being alive because I was like, man, if he wasn't alive, like I wouldn't feel so bad about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But those lie, like holding those things inside and not letting that out. And now I let that out at meetings, and I can't tell you how many people come up to me, especially the child one, right? Because they've had those thoughts about their child, and it makes it so.
Yep.
Man, it makes you feel so like those horrible. It's horrible to wish your child wasn't, but it is. But like when you hear other people saying they felt that too, man, it's like, okay.
I think it's just also the truth of the addiction, how dark it can be and how it just shreds anything in its path. And I don't care if you're King Kong, you're going to lose.
Yep.
So, hey, man, what a great podcast, Johnny. I
appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it was great,
cool.
bro. We moved around. We got into some awesome conversation, but I also think we gave some people a lot of hope. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm very grateful for this platform.
It's cool. It's
very, very kind of our supporter. And with that being said, my name's Tim. If you didn't catch it in the beginning, and my email is tim.r@beachway.com. Reach out, man. And then I'll send you an email with my phone number on it. But you got to get me first. John's a guest. I'm here all... Nah, but I'm here all the time. John's not. But I was grateful for John here. You want to say your number one more time? You never know, man.
Yeah, area code 512-620-4038. And again, this isn't to get into treatment or anything. If that's the case, cool. But this is just to talk, right?
Yeah,
this
man.
Is if something we said, we want the phone to ring, right? Like we really
100%.
Really
and veterans, we lose 22 a day. If John can, to give out your number all day long, 22 a day. We got to do something. Something's not working. Right. And if you're thinking, unfortunately, in that, reach out to John. Like he can move around the VA, no problem. He's very well versed in the VA. And thanks again, John. Love it, man. Stay in touch.
It took us a couple months to get this going, so I'm glad we did.
But we're busy.
We did, I know.
It happens. And so you just learn how to manage. Until next time, I wish you all peace and love.